everyone, and welcome back. Today I'm going to do something I don't typically do, and that's upload roughly the same deck kind of on back-to-back days. There's a deck in the middle. I don't know if it bothers anybody that it's like the same list uploaded a couple days in a row, or like something similar with some changes. I do know some people like, oh, you played the deck, well, what's the changes you made? Can I see that sooner than later? We're going to try it out today. Definitely today is an experiment. But I got a comment when I played this 2 days ago about Tale of Tamiyo being an incredibly strong card for this deck. And I talked about Freebooter at the end of that deck and how I wanted to try it out. But let's discuss the game plan in case you missed it just real quick for anybody. It's not going to be too long. So primarily the main thing we want to do is we want to put creatures in our graveyard, and we have a ton of ways to do that, whether it's milling with Prankster, Archaeologist, using the Can't Wake Up side of Cruel Somnophage, or using Wails to look at the top three, put like one in our hand, put the rest in the graveyard, typically grabbing a Raise to Pass or a land most of the time, using Snarling Gorehound to play creatures that fit its description, and then we surveilled and most likely put it in the graveyard unless it's exactly what we're looking for, and life gainers to kind of trigger our Starscape Cleric. This is the win condition where we kind of raise the pass, bring everything back, and this says whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life, so we have ways to gain it in the Sanctifier, 1 drop, and we have kind of 2 other ways to gain it as well, so for a total of 8 copies. Don't typically need more than that because we will eventually mill 1 of both, as you'll see in today's video or that you have seen in the past. Other than that, the main win condition is Raise to Pass. Return all creature cards with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Every creature in our deck fits that description. So typically this is cast this, bring every single creature back, and typically win the game. Or it's just a high enough value play against like mono red, for example, that we gain like 20 life, and then they have to like kill us before we find another copy of Raise to Pass. But the 2 additions into the deck that I'm playing today that I did not play the other day is Greedy Freebooter. This is a way to basically make a treasure, and it actually comes up super clutch in a game where we attacked with like 3 of these, and we got to do some crazy stuff on that same turn that we already brought stuff back. We didn't have enough mana to do everything. We were able to mill a lot, attack with these, make treasures. Because they come in untapped, our Raise to Pass was able to be cast that same turn while we were pretty much tapped out. So it was very cool. Scries there as well, which is very important in a deck where we need to find exactly what we want. And Tale of Tamiyo. This was the suggestion. It is an enchantment. It is a saga. This one does not have read ahead, so you do have to kind of go through it like other ones in the past have been. But for the first 3 modes, add mill 2 cards. If the cards share a creature type, they don't necessarily have to be the creature type. For example, if I milled a Tamiyo and one of the Overlords, they would both share an enchantment type, so they would be fine. It would still trigger this and draw again. But this says if they are the same type and they are milled this way, you draw a card, repeat the process. Just an overwhelming way to get more cards over and over into the graveyard. And then for its final mode, a way to basically cast our Raise to Pass and our Wail of the Forgotten, because you can exile more than 1 card. So this says exile any number of target instant, sorcery, and or Tamiyo planeswalkers. That's not really relevant. Cards from your graveyard, copy them. You may cast any number of the copies. So even if we don't have a Raise to Pass, we have a couple of Wails in there. We can cast them both and then get a lot of value and set up for our turn. So we're really trying out some new stuff. We're going to see how well it does today. And if you do like me kind of uploading similar decks with some changes pretty close to when I uploaded it last, please let me know. If you prefer like kind of like the weekish I roughly had been doing it at before I reapproach a deck, please let me know that as well, so I just kind of have an idea of like where we're at. But with that said, I hope you all enjoyed the video today, and if you like my content, please consider subscribing, and let's go game. Oh boy, what an interesting hand we have here. We have the Gorehound, which I've talked about being kind of the auto play on turn 1, and I think the same is still true. These are good, but most likely not necessarily going to get trade stock value. Even though I guess if we play them first, right, we do get the treasures build up for something like Tamiyo. For example, if it was like play land, play haster here, like this is a free block, but we can look to block next turn. Obviously, wanting to keep that around. I could Wail this. This doesn't seem good. This almost seems better, but I can always block and just make a treasure, and then I can surveil here. Another Gorehound can go away. And then I don't plan on blocking with this, so I'll attack, and then this can block. And then when it dies, we also get that scry that's so important, make that treasure. And then maybe we'll find another land source, go from there. Mishra's Foundry, a card not typically played much more. A Charming Scoundrel. Are we just on the old red? Where, like, I'll see a squee here or something? A second red. A Phoenix. We are on just the old list. Honestly. This is so old. I forgot this card was even legal. Like, that's funny. I didn't even think this card was legal anymore. We go for Lifecreed Duo. There's still a little bottlenecked on red. I can't imagine that's the way they would play this out any other way. We don't attack. I guess this has Menace. I could have attacked because then I can trade off with the Scoundrel, but I might as well hold Second Foundry. Okay. There's a shock clearing the way on the top end for him. Again, I really want to trade this Freebooter off if they'll give me that opportunity. Of course, we're definitely blocking here. No Monstrous Rage I have to be afraid of. Foundry's showing why, like, in my opinion, they've been replaced. Second source. And it is a white source, which we need to an extent, right? Like, we don't necessarily need this one exactly, but we also need it. Let's play a Freebooter here. A card they already don't want to remove. It's very obvious. And then we might end up just doing Wail the Forgotten if there's like a good land on top. We'll throw that in a bin. I still think doing this might make sense. We got top 3 cards. I think we have to do this. We have another Freebooter to make that treasure back, so it's not necessarily like it's a must hit, I guess, if that makes sense. Another land, a Tale of Tamiyo. Huh. It's a tough choice, actually. I kind of want to grab this because it's a card of choice, but I just don't think I have the time. So I must prioritize maybe the Prankster? That creates a treasure token. Not tapped, so we could maybe do the Prankster right away. There's a second red. Now we're definitely in, like, the danger zone, I would argue. Here comes up a Foundry, so be it. Not even giving me the opportunity to trade. That's messed up. Here. Lose a little. We get this scry again. Cave. Oh, man. Think not. Pass it up. 2 cards I really don't want in my hand, though. I can tell you that much. I don't know how it's going to tap. I'm going to make sure it blues from here. You know, this isn't necessarily like a big deal. This is 2 mana. So I'm going to bounce that, target them. You know, they haven't necessarily attacked with it. Still think it's definitely the correct choice on bouncing something. And then we'll see if we can't find the card of choice. And now it's like, we just have to live here. We have to live at more than 1. We kind of hope their hand just sucks. They got rid of the Scoundrel. They play another mountain. Sure, this comes up. They attack. Our Gorehound 100% blocks this Foundry. They can pump the Foundry with another Foundry. The way it works. Take quite a bit. Take our turn. We hit another land. I'll probably just use the treasure here. I mean, I feel like I have to. White. Every little bit of life counts here, I think. Down to 7. Raise to pass. Not that, you know, this is a small amount of life to be gained. There's 28 triggers on the stack, but a lot of them are scry triggers. But just like that, we're back up to 21. That can go away. We have 14 of these, so realistically, unless it's another reanimate, like a raise to pass, I'm not really budging. Oh, maybe. No. Definitely like the card, just a little too late right now, I think. Alright. Done. 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 And now we're sitting here at 21. Our opponent with 3 cards at most has to kill us next turn. With 2 cards at most has to kill us next turn. Doesn't necessarily seem that possible when I have 2 flyers and some of them have life gain. And I'm going to raise the pass, maybe. I actually didn't hit a ton of creatures. I had a lot of lands now that I'm looking at that. But it is what it is. I might just play like 2 clerics or play a cleric, I guess. Maybe play another flyer. Just keep my life linker in play. The raise the pass is on top. There's no damage on board. 1 card in hand. I'm not really going to budge that hard. I'm going to play this Starscape Cleric. Gain a little bit of life here. Get a couple of scries. See if there's not like just better action to throw in the graveyard. Don't need the planes. Don't need that. It only being a 5/5 should just be like some indication of how like lackluster our hand is there. Influence, I guess. Could have Witchstalker Frenzy, but that's okay. Alright, a little scared of their life total. That totally makes sense to me. Definitely can chump all these. I'll just take the scries, but realistically, these are just in there because of raise to past. Like, we're totally fine with this. Like, I'll make 3 treasures. Then they'll lose here, I guess. Oh, these are scries. These don't matter. Another treasure. Obviously, blocking seems reasonable, but when it comes down to it, with the Starscape Cleric and other creatures in that graveyard, it's not necessarily the most reasonable. Especially considering we have this many more life gain triggers on the stack. And they only have colorless mana, so the Cleric can't be answered. There's another 46 triggers on the stack. And I now have 4 life gainers in play. Yeah, this should definitely be enough to chalk it. We'll just have to wait till all the triggers resolve. And that's going to do it for us. So, very cool. Tamiyo didn't come in necessarily, but I think a card has come up clutch so far. I'm trying to talk through it before like it all happens. I guess it's in the battlefield now. But the guy that makes a treasure, proving to be really, really useful. Especially, I love the vermin. I think it's so good, but like just that the treasure being untapped is just so good there for us in a lot of spots. So on to the next. This is a different loading screen. Why is it like this? That was like broken, right? I'm not crazy. Opponent goes first. This is an interesting hand. I don't know if this hand's necessarily that good, but I'd like to try it. These can't block. That's why I say it's interesting. But we have Golgari, which typically, honestly, probably bodes pretty well for us, I would argue. Just on the fact that it's like a lot of the removal is not going to be exile removal. I guess all 4 copies. The Storm or Starscape Cleric is going to be my opener just because. I don't know. Attack. See how protective they are. Not super protective. Let's just play one of these out. You can obviously kill it. Maybe Anoint will come down. Obviously, I could go for the Sadistic Pilgrim here. Doesn't seem like the best play of all time. Okay. Overlord. Growing the mana pool. Sanctifier is up and available. So I guess play here. Walk into a board wipe that we don't care about too much. Then hit for a bit here. Because right now with this many clerics, like as long as they can't exile our thing, like I don't actually care. Another land on top. It's also a blue source that we don't have access to, so I guess I have to keep that. Right? Like I can't get too loose with this. Let's play here. Play here. And yeah, we're already to the point that like if I just hit a raise to pass, they can definitely lose here. 2 of these things die, especially now. Like I have actually a lot of life to gain, and 3 of these clerics are in the graveyard. So Yes. Missed. I'll just hold. We really need this to like hit, and then we need to draw a card, or we need to find that raise to pass. You can duress me. That makes sense. Take 5 here, and then this will come up. Can they deadly cover up me right now? Is that what they're about to do? No? Okay. Sure. Another miss. Who would have thought? This is like 11 damage on board, huh? Demo field there. This isn't really coming through for us. We could mill over, but this isn't going to activate. This has 3 triggers, so we have to kind of resolve this problem, right? Play here. They know about it, so play here. I have an 8/8 that's going to die to a go for the third, I think. Yeah, that makes sense. I can't block. Once again, raise the pass solves all the problems in the world. Just right there. We just have to hit it. Almost through the top 20. We miss. And there's the raise to pass. And just happens sometimes. Like, we didn't hit it until the 20th card in our deck, and they are like uber super dead. So I mean, we'll move on. Pretty like, I would argue that this matchup, unless they have like actual graveyard hate, is actually pretty free most of the time. It's just we didn't have it. So one of the tough parts of not having the effects that actually look at the top, like the Gorehound that we talk about so much. But we'll move on. Opponent first. Definitely have interesting hand here. Gorehound good. I'm going to try playing it a little bit differently this time. Where I'm going to play the Freebooter, especially now that we hit the raise to pass. Seems like a pretty easy play to make. There's this. We could get the rest. Could be a banished talent. Could be a lot of things. Obviously. Combat. 1. We can Picklock Prankster on instep. Not really showing what we have so far. Unstoppable Slasher. Everybody's favorite Magic the Gathering card. Prankster misses. Another Freebooter. Honestly, I think it's just like play the Gorehound, play this land. I could honestly prioritize that, but I think I go for Freebooter here. Definitely okay with like milling some of this stuff over. Then we'll just pass. We'll just hold them as blockers here. We have Harbor. We have no way to like do the whole life gain thing. That's a creature more or less we'd prefer to block. Or like bounce back with like the Wail here. I'll take the other land, I guess. My turn. We do have the treasure. So now I can do something a little more interesting where I can fire off this because we have the land, so we don't necessarily need it like the treasure, whereas like before we often do. I can do this, and then we can do this. Go for it. Now they have to discard. Obviously we have a lot in there. If this shows us a raise to pass, we grab it so we're safe from duresses. Hopefully we miss. Freebooter is like fine, but I think this is definitely a Tale of Tamiyo situation. The most effective card here in terms of getting value, and now obviously we hold, and hopefully it's just like play Bloodletter back. Second Unstoppable Slasher. Definitely have fear of duress here. Only 1 block just in case. Don't need a second one. No duress and a second raise to pass, so we had it covered regardless. Now there is no overkill there. We're definitely going to set up for it. That thing dies, which is quite funny. So for me, it's not necessarily winning the combo wombo here. But all the way up. Now, here's the only real issue. Our life total doesn't matter against double damage Aklozots. So definitely have to be worried about that. We do a lot of milling here. There's the combo piece we need. Much rather have 2 in there, obviously. 1, 2, 3. Are we just good with that? Yeah, I guess so. So we can overblock like crazy here, right? It's just, yeah, I'd like to do that. It's only 2 damage. I guess I had menace, so I want to hold this back. Yeah, we can make like a ton of treasures off the freebooters. We can block like crazy, do whatever we need to. We only have one of these in there, so realistically, if they keep up a removal spell for it, like good for them. They can kind of get it covered. We might have to actually win through combat damage. Unholy Annex. Okay. Sure. Another raise to past. Sure. How many do I have in here? It could be holding up cut down. We do have to remember that. But I'd be bringing back like 3-ish, 4-ish creatures. Let's go to combat. Do something like this, I guess. Nice. Sure. Raised past. Now, do they have an answer for the cleric? I don't think so, because based on how that resolved. But, yeah, there's no answer. They didn't answer it now, so it's definitely going to be over. Also, I can't do anything. Like, there's no... Once the setting bar goes away, by the way, you know it's, like, locked up. It's, like, a little bit, whatever. But, yeah. We come away there. Surprised they didn't, like, reestablish the Bloodletter. After we bounced it, they immediately went into playing, like, a second slasher, maybe trying to go wider than us. But no duress comes off the top. Maybe that's why they played the Annex. They were trying to dig for, like, hand disruption. We have, with... I know my webcam's in the way, but there's 35 port triggers on the stack. We come away with the win. Very sweet. First tier, very cool. Definitely snag this hand for sure. Play a land, play a freebooter here. Maybe just represent that we're maybe an Orzhov sacrifice stack until we obviously play Darkslick. Goes back. Maybe we get the rest here. And we throw up, but that's okay. The rest very common. It's honestly one of the reasons I don't like having one of these in my opener. I like just trying to find it, but with this deck being kind of like a blind mill deck is like a little shaky at best, obviously. Combat. Maybe we're missing a land. Who knows? Attack. Obviously, we're not. We know that. They don't have to do that. I'm going to go for the Prankster here and then maybe establish this next turn. If this dies here, then, like, sure. Maybe they're still trying to figure out what we are. But we play a Prankster. We do a Prankster. We just mill over kind of some good cards there. Maybe not the best things of all time. Attack again. Definitely a situation in most cases where we want to be attacking first before making our play. And now we just, at some point, need this freebooter to die. So we can make that treasure. Unholy Annex probably coming down. No Preacher. Okay. Well, the gates are open. More mill, please. A little less lands in that mill pile would be great. But, you know, I get it. Can't all be the first round draft picks that we wanted to be. Yeah, so far our mills have been horrible. Yeah. We're going to hold the freebooter because I would prefer to do that. I could play this Death Toucher. It's, like, bound to just get removed. Not really hitting a land right now anyway. So, like, let's just mill this over. There's a raise to pass, but there's also a Wail here. Much rather have it in the spot, I think. Just because we can try to find a land. There's a raised pass in there, but we have one in hand. They obviously can duress it out. But based on kind of how this game's going, I think we're definitely in a weird spot where we have to figure it out sooner than later. Make a token. I obviously block with this. Now my 4 mana is kind of activated in a way. Seachrome Coast on top I will take. So that means this treasure I will not need here. Don't want to use it though. I can now play this. I can now wail away the Archfiend, make them discard. Then I can Picklock Prankster. Seems good to me. Here, here, and here. Definitely just need a lot of cards to go in our graveyard that are valuable, especially like a cleric that I don't have to play it. Grabbing a land here useful. Doesn't really seem that way. Tale of Tamiyo is fine. Let's just play and let's just grab the Adarkar Wastes. And I already played a land for turn. But yeah, it's definitely a situation where I think I'm going to do the Prankster. The only problem is don't really have the good creature in here. Maybe they just play Archfiend. They don't hold up a cut down. We can find some action that way. We have, what, 1 life gainer, 2 life gainers, about 6 or so creatures in there. Oh, man. It's a tough look for the home team, that's for sure. Just hitting a lot of lands. I'd argue that a majority of our graveyard is like non-creature spells. Maybe a reason to maybe not play many of these. Sure. So no Archfiend here? Like we're not doing this? Okay. I could have done it now so they would only like draw a card, but like realistically that's not the problem. Yeah. That's definitely an issue. Definitely an issue, that's for sure. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Uh-huh. Okay, we play land. Now I can establish some flyers. I can play some stuff out. Obviously, they probably have like another go for the throat, considering they didn't go for the Archdemon there. Gorehound. I understand I'm going to be missing a life gain here. But I think I need to surveil more. Graveyard. Flyer. Prankster can just go, I guess. 28 cards. Gather. Oh, hostile investigator? Fantastic. I'll let that go in the graveyard. I'm pretty okay with that, I think. We let this 2 hit. I suppose so. I don't think it's breaking the bank here. Picklock Prankster, come in. We'll gain life. We'll surveil. I can go in the yard. Obviously looking for another either Raise to Pass or a Wail the Forgotten here. Fantastic. And now we actually have it set up to win next turn, which is interesting. Just like a weird way to figure out the kind of game plan where we use this Wail, make them pick this up, and then we just kind of bring everything back. So maximum block effort here, I think. Maximum effort, team. Let us go here. Here. Interesting. So we'll see if our opponent knows how to do the block rule, but it doesn't really matter, I guess. There's an interesting way that you can block. So our blocking rule, so they can actually assign 2 damage to just our Pilgrim, so our Gorehound doesn't die if they're afraid of me reanimating it back. It's definitely interesting. Or they can use 2 on the Gorehound. It's like they don't actually have to deal damage to the Pilgrim or vice versa. As you saw, they did it. That's the new block rule. That's cool. Or if like, so say Preacher had like 5 power, it could get around it all and did not matter. So here, here, here. And then this will go in the yard. Then obviously we're going to cast Raise to Pass. And they'll have to have 2 removal spells or, you know, deal with a lot. Plan. Here. Here. I have a Raise to Pass. I have a lot going on. Alright, webcam off time. 99. We're 1 short of 100. That's actually kind of annoying. But they can double remove the cleric. It's not the life gainer they need to remove. The life gainers have already triggered. They have no relevance in this combo whatsoever. If they want to respond, it has to be a cleric. And there's 2 of them. Everything's still here. The setting bar and everything. So they have a response, but they're auto-passing. They must not have enough. But regardless, if one of the clerics lived, it was over. But yeah, just a massive, massive stack there. And I mean, realistically, as long as we're able to hit the raise the pass, I feel pretty confident overall. Typically the problem is hitting the land with the raise the pass. Most of the times it's not getting stuff in the graveyard. Although there for a while, obviously, we couldn't cast the raise the pass because we didn't have anything good in that graveyard, which is interesting. But yeah, cool. Definitely an interesting hand. We'll definitely keep this. We don't have either a blue mana. We don't have the kind of namesake card of the deck, nor many ways to necessarily mill it outside of a Gorehound. But I don't know if that necessarily matters all too much. We'll just play a Gorehound. We'll play another land. We'll play a Pilgrim here. Beast. So we're playing against Delirium. All right, well, we find a blue mana immediately. Let's play a Pilgrim now. Just can't attack or block. Don't need that land, even though it's technically better than our other lands. We're definitely going to try to put a little bit of damage on them. The amount of hate... Team, they didn't mean that, did they? They didn't actually put that in the graveyard, did they? Team. Okie doke. Attack. I'm gonna cycle this, I think. Alright, thankfully we did, because I don't think we could afford to take another land at this point. We are now 5, 6, 7 lands deep to 5 cards. Our lands are kind of a low count in this deck overall. But I mean, we do have good draw. Yeah. Uh-huh. Alright, yep. Uh-huh. You know, arena being arena, I guess. That's an enchantment creature. You gotta hit at some point. There you go. Now you figured it out. Now we have it all settled up. Wow. This is going to be the way we lose, huh? Just like a really solid opener into a really bad time. Yeah, I would say that makes sense. I mean, I definitely think I trade this, and I trade this while it's available. Block with Gorehound if I have to on the following turn. Okay. Just somehow I'll figure out how to beat a Ghalta next turn. Probably with haste. No? I mean, realistically, this is just digging for a raised past. Yep. Uh-huh. Ass. If I beat a Ghalta, this gives it haste. And it'll be 14 trample. Now, obviously, we're at 28. That's a lot of life. And they actually don't have green mana. They actually can't cast this. Second dog. Okay. Obviously, Freebooter is going to jump in front. Like this. Do I just do this? Maybe? And save these for another kind of bigger creature, I guess. Nope. Okay. Raise. Or do that. Oh boy. One of these. And that should be lethal. 39 triggers immediately. How we got out of that after hitting so many lands. Bless up the Picklock Prankster. What a guy. What a pal. Also, shout out to our opponent playing a really sweet deck. That is, I understand we win. Kind of sucks for our opponent. I saw a Galta and I went quiet for like 20 seconds. I was not ready to see that get put in the graveyard because I was like, oh, Patchwork Bessie. Obviously, Delirium, fear of missing out, right? And then they're like, put a Galta in the graveyard. And I'm like, okay, yes, sir. Like, what? Opponent goes first. This is kind of one of the hands we want. So we'll keep, especially on a maul from our opponent. Might mean they're red, though. Looking for a little bit more aggressive of a hand, or just a hand that did nothing. The rest hits absolutely nothing in our hand, which is great. So now they've mauled and they duressed me and hit nothing. So they officially just, for 1 mana, got information. Which isn't necessarily the best thing in the world, obviously. Alright. Tamiyos. I think I just go for this. Or do I just play the dog? Dog doesn't really buy me anything, though. So let's just play this, a card that they're going to want to remove. Like, they can obviously remove the Gorehound, but they're going to want to remove the Cleric over the Gorehound, I think. That hurts with every fiber of my being. But we can do a little trick around that. So let's put a pause here. One, I guess. Obviously, the Cleric, I think, gets removed. Obviously, we need this, and we need lands to hit. We can just Picklock Prankster and pick it up. We know now that Picklock Prankster will mill, like, a non-land card, right? Oh, Anoint? Okay. Definitely snapping Anoint off. But Picklock Prankster will definitely mill at least one non-land, and we know that for a fact, so we might as well do it. Brother, you can good game and leave if you want. I'm really far behind as well. And there goes 2 lands. Raise the past. Yep. Yes, sir. You are very much alive in this game, I promise you. Yeah, see? Maze my turn. Perfect. Scry here. Scry on your upkeep. Like, I genuinely think our opponent is in the driver's seat right now. Just because of the way our hands kind of curved out a bit. Second raise to pass. Absolutely brutal. This lives, I guess. I'm gonna play another dog, I suppose. We find a lane, please. It's like last game before where we didn't have it. Like, we have 4 lands in the top 16 right now, which is definitely quite a bit. Percentage isn't incredibly high. They just take a straight draw. Unless they knew it was there, I suppose. It's definitely possible. But now we do hit a land, and now we're going to see if Tale of Tamiyo is just good. 2 creatures, draw. Land Tamiyo. All right, I might be sold on Tamiyo. I mean, that's just, I played it earlier when I was testing it out. I was trying to figure out the configuration of the deck, and I played 1 game, and I was kind of like, wow, it missed. It was 3 mana, mill 6, and the bottom part wasn't relevant because I died too quickly. But now it was just like, no. Like right there, that's just another good example of like, hey, we did a little bit of the thing. They kept on top, and then they drew. What do we have to do here? I don't imagine we see much of a graveyard situation. So let's do this. Mills and mills. Now, if they want to prioritize playing like the like an Aklazoth or something, we find these. Graveyard. Graveyard. We do have a land already to play, and then we can hit for 2. And the thing is, too, now, like, we do have, like, a little bit of damage. Leyline of the Void. Wow, did we dodge a bomb. And wow, did Arena try to get us. Like, what? All right, I see why they might have milled once. Tamiyo. How does this work? It happens after a draw, so we're safe. Exile, exile. Nothing? Okay, I kind of assume so. I don't have a second white mana. I just realized that. So thankfully, we hit that white mana. Actually. Here. Sure. Dogs. Might as well keep. Not really a reason to mill it over. But yeah, I cannot believe there was just a Leyline of the Void just sitting there. Like in their deck. I was like, okay. Now if these die, they get exiled. So if they do a board wipe, we are in trouble. Kind of one of the reasons I kept this. We'll try to find maybe another land or something. This is on 3, so the 4th mode will resolve. There's not a Raise the Past or a Wail the Forgotten in here. If they just bring up the land, then we're good. I think. Archfiend, okay. A cut down could happen. Cut down technically could happen. But let us go for it, regardless. It's actually a good game. Again, the fact that these get around raised like Leyline of the Void just blows my mind. But setting bar is gone, everything's gone. And finally, so I've been playing to like get a Tamiyo kind of hand and like get to play Tamiyo and see if it's actually worth playing. And I think this game alone kind of convinced me that it's really, really good. So that's great. That's fantastic. Oh, like I probably have said in the intro, I don't typically run back games. I don't like to necessarily play. I don't know why. I honestly don't think really anybody cares. If I play Golgari back-to-back days, I don't actually think anybody would mind. It's just in my head. Maybe let me know in the comments if you're still here. Obviously, I would understand clicking off before the outro if you're like, I got what I needed after 35 minutes of gameplay or whatever it's going to be. But yeah, I mean, the Tale of Tamiyo, the suggestion is good. It is 4 rares, where this deck is typically kind of more of a budget list overall. But this card, maybe as a 4 of is a bit much too, but this card felt great. That one game alone kind of showed me its peak. I've saw its low, where it only milled like kind of like a land and a creature, or like a land and a spell. I do think at some point we probably need to figure this situation out. Not even this, but like, I'm still a huge fan of this card. A card that was a little less good was this card, but then you start running thin on creatures, and we can't do that. We do have 23 lands. You probably could trim a land, but I don't feel comfortable with that. And I think Wail is a great way for us to find said land, because it does look at 3, and then we can grab whatever. If they're all bad, then we can at least grab a lower to the ground creature to play in that spot. And I do think that's where like Freebooter has been incredibly good for us, because that treasure is so good. I think this is one of the better additions into the deck as well today. So with that said, I mean, here we are. If you want to look at creature count, we're on 27 right now, which typically is pretty good, having only like 10 non-creature spells in terms of like 23 lands. So that's what, 23, 10, that's 30, that's 33. Duh, simple math, just add 10. I don't know why was that so hard for me. That was a long day of Magic, apparently. Other than that, I do think like the fear is the creature count. So would I maybe like do this? Probably. Like, I think that's probably fine. Like, this is a pretty good card, pretty good blocker. Definitely a thing we could throw in front of a lot of creatures. Or like maybe even go up on a Cruel Somnophage. The only problem with this is when we do rip all the creatures out, this does die. But we don't really care when we do that most of the time. We're just looking kind of for the 4 mil and playing this as like a big 8/8. But I did trim down on these just because, again, the blind mill is hard. And like things like Charter Course is stuff we can't actually play, which I definitely like those effects because they help you find the Raise to Pass and discard the creatures, right? But the only real thing that I didn't get to do with Tail, which is another upside to it, is the fact that you can, if this does get duress out of your hand, the bottom mode allows us to exile it, and then we can cast it, which is great. You do have to pay for it, right? Tamiyo's playing our cards from graveyard, copy them, you may cast it. Yeah, so you have to cast it, but at least we can hit it, right? So that's great. Unlike like what is it? The Third Path. The only problem with Third Path is you can't actually play it on turn 2 because you'll never be able to cast Raise the Pass because you don't get to play the last land drop. For this, you can play technically turn 2 even with the Greedy Freebooter because of the fact of how like it has 4 modes, so you get 1 extra turn to play that land first, which is so nice. Either way, I enjoyed it. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.